56% of students reported that teens personally knew someone who considered self-harm or suicide. The CDC reported in 2020, 1 in 4 young adults thought about killing themselves in the last 30 days. And now in Nevada, the 5th largest school district in the country, the state's expediting a return to in-person learning after the community lost 19 kids to suicide since COVID-19's sweeping social isolation continues to impact teen mental health.
Welcome back, everyone. We're calling out the COVID crisis in this pandemic that's killing our kids, literally. Teen suicide. We've heard from brave families sharing their stories, and we're back with our experts, Dr. Jen and Dr. G. Dr. Jen, I want to come to you first. In your professional opinion, how is suicide right now different than what it's been in the past?
One of the bigger differences is that the kids that we've typically thought were the ones that were most impacted by having suicidal ideation and engaging in suicidal risky behaviors are not the kids we're seeing now. We're used to seeing the kids that are more bullied, or the LGBTQ environment where they're really the targeted ones. And now we're seeing more of the kids who are not getting the social interaction, as we've been hearing about from Melanie and from Heather about their kids, like not getting the social interaction. They're missing the connection that they used to have. And without that, they're really lacking. And secondary to that, schools being closed takes away kind of a second line of defense for a lot of these kids. Maybe they don't feel as comfortable talking to their parents, but they don't have the coach at their access, or their guidance counselor, or that really beloved teacher that they might be able to rely on. So they don't have that access in the same way that they might have had either. And we can't deny the impact of the fact that the pandemic for everybody has been a traumatic event. And as adults, it's hard enough to process. So for teenagers, processing this trauma is such a challenge. And the stress and the trauma combined increases our anxiety, our depression, and all of those things. And without the appropriate coping strategies, which, teenagers are struggling to find, it's really putting them at greater risk, and they're being more impulsive and more reactionary to that. And it increases the likelihood that their self-harm and their suicidal behaviors will be there.
Dr. G, the parents watching the show, they've got to be more alert and afraid. So I want to hear it from you. What can you tell them?
So the good news is you're thinking about this, even though it's terrifying. And Dr. Ian, I'm sure you can agree, because you, like me, have kids this age at home. It is easier to push off these thoughts as a parent than address them. But if parents can reflect on 3 things. 1, are there any yellow flags going on that I need to be worried about today? 2, is there anything I can do to keep my kids physically safe, but mitigate some of the distance that they feel from their friends? Is there any way we can be creative and solve some of those things, or that they can? And then 3, what can I do that's just going to strengthen them, whether they're having mental distress now or they just will at some point, because everybody does, right? What can we do? What skills can I give them? What conversations can we have? How can I strengthen our connection and them? Because as Dr. Jen pointed out, everybody, adults and kids, are dealing with this, but developmentally, kids are more likely to choose permanent solutions to temporary problems, partially because they don't quite see all the impact of permanent, and partially because it doesn't feel temporary to them.
That's right.
There's no silver bullet in terms of parenting. We saw engaged parents on today's show who cared, communicated, watched their kids, and still had kids die by suicide. So there's no one thing that all parents could do and then this problem would be solved, which I think for me is the scariest thing about it.